And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna and Merry Christmas. Today we are going to make what you could serve for a Christmas dinner for your family instead of the traditional ham or roast beef and all of those wonderful delicious things. I kind of wanted to just give you an alternate as to what you could serve. So today we're going to make a stuffed pork tenderloin, which is one of my favorite dishes. It's absolutely delicious. Alongside that, we're going to serve a Brussels sprout recipe that I bet many of you have never tried. And I'm going to convert some of you Brussels sprout haters out there, because we are going to make braised, roasted Brussels sprouts, and they are so delicious, and they could not be easier. Alongside that, we're going to make a cheese ball, and we're going to serve that with some crackers. So let's get started. I have got my oven preheated to 425 degrees. That is to roast the pork as well as the Brussels sprouts. But we got to get started on the stuffing first. We're using pork tenderloin, which is one of my favorite cuts of pork because it's very lean and very quick cooking. This will cook in no time. You will not spend all day in the kitchen Christmas Day this year. We have got our skillet preheating to like medium-high heat, and we're going to start with our stuffing. Now, I have got 1 stalk of celery, and by all means, you could make this stuffing ahead if you wanted to, and then just keep it refrigerated and you have it ready to go on Christmas. And you don't have to save this meal just for Christmas Day. I've made it lots of times at home just for an ordinary weekday meal because it is so quick cooking. But it's special enough to serve at Christmas. So if you wanted to make the stuffing ahead, by all means, you can do this part ahead. I've got 1 stalk of celery, and I'm going to mince it kind of fine because we are stuffing this pork with some delicious vegetables. And that's why I just decided to serve on the program today. I'm just doing one side dish, which would be the Brussels sprouts. But you could serve it, alongside some steamed carrots or some roasted potatoes or, whatever you wanted to do at your home. So I'm going to preheat, or I've got my skillet preheated. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, which is my cooking oil of choice, but you can use whatever you like, a canola oil or vegetable oil. And this recipe, the type of oil is not there to add any flavor, so you could use, any kind of oil that you wanted. Celery is one of my favorite vegetables. I love it. It's so good and so good for you. We have got, I think it's underused. I don't think enough people use celery like it should be. I've got 1 medium onion, but I really think I'm only going to use half of this onion because I don't need that much stuffing for these little pork tenderloins. If you didn't want to do a tenderloin, you could use the same recipe and you could stuff a beef roast if you wanted to. You could stuff a pork loin instead of the tenderloin. You could even stuff chicken with this, boneless, skinless chicken with this recipe if you wanted to. The type of meat can be varied and can be switched out. I'm just kind of mincing this onion a little bit fine. If I could get through that last little thing. I like my little chopper. I should have got my little chop rack. So feel my eyes tearing up here, but that's okay. I got it. 1 onion, or about half of an onion, excuse me, because that was a good size onion. If your onions are small, you could use just, 1 little small onion. You could use green onions if you wanted to, the little scallions. That would be perfectly delicious in this too. So there's part of it. Now I want to season it. I want to add a little bit of salt, about a teaspoon of salt, and some freshly cracked pepper. It is important that you season your cooking, period, as you go along. Season each layer when you're building a stuffing or something like that, because you want it all to be flavored and all to be delicious. Let's stir that up. just gonna saute that until it's softened. And then I got a special surprise ingredient that, you know, maybe your family thinks they don't like, but they're gonna love it in this recipe. Let's add some spices to that. Well, let's get our garlic first. I've got 1 clove of garlic. Garlic goes so well with so many different things. This one's a small clove. You don't want to overpower the dish with the garlic, which can be overpowering if you're not careful. Eyes are watering from that onion. Whew. I'm used to wearing contacts, and I recently have switched to glasses. I think I'm going to have to go back to contacts because I can't stand that watering in my eyes. Mince this up. Kind of fine. You can use the pre-chopped garlic if you want to. You could even use garlic powder if you wanted to in this recipe, because you just really kind of want that hint of garlic. I just do prefer the fresh garlic, but if you want to use the powder, that's okay too. You wipe this down. I think it's the onion juice that's getting to me. Now, let that kind of simmer. You never want to put the garlic in there until you have something for it to rest on. I've got about, because I like things spicy, I've got about half of a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. I have about a teaspoon of dried thyme and about a tablespoon of paprika. So many people think that paprika is just a garnish for deviled eggs. No, it's a delicious ingredient, a spice. There are different kinds of paprika. I didn't know if you know this or not, but there's hot paprika, there's sweet paprika, and in this particular recipe, I'm using the regular paprika, the sweet paprika, although I do love the hot paprika. But this is not. This is just the regular. Doesn't that look good already? Now, we're going to pull a surprise ingredient. To me, one of the best bargains in the grocery store is this. This is frozen, thawed, defrosted spinach. This is absolutely one of the biggest bargains. Let me grab a towel here that you can get in a grocery store, because you know how much fresh spinach it would take to get this little box? A lot. Thaw it in the microwave, put it over a towel, in a towel, clean kitchen towel, or you could put it over a sieve if you wanted to. And then I've got a trash can here, not just doing it in the floor. Look at all the water that's coming out of your spinach. You want to squeeze it dry. Get all that water out. For you spinach haters out there, you need to try this, because I bet you've never had good spinach. My husband wasn't a real big spinach eater when we met and I started cooking for him. He's like, I don't really like that stuff, but all he'd ever had that I know of was the canned stuff, and that doesn't taste at all like spinach. Frozen spinach to me is delicious, so you don't want to leave this out. Let's turn that heat down. Now look at that. You've got a perfect little round of just dried out. I've wrung out the excess water of the chopped spinach. You want to add this to your stuffing. My stuffing's gotten a little bit dry on me, so I want to add just a little touch more of the olive oil. Oh, delicious. Love it. And really, that's done. Go ahead and turn your heat off and just kind of let it sit there. The spinach will heat up on the eye and it'll be delicious. You don't want to have a lot of excess liquid. Just kind of let that hang out while we get ready for the pork. Now, I have, if you've never seen one of these, this is called a mortar and pestle. Just a great little tool for grinding spices. You can also put them in a Ziploc baggie and hit them with a rolling pin or something just to crush up the spices. I have here a couple of tablespoons of one of my favorite spices to use, and that is fennel seed. And that's what I want to crush up. Fennel has got like an anise flavor, and just use the thing in here and just kind of crush it around the edges. It's got like a little bit of a licorice-y flavor, a little bit of what they call anise flavoring. It's a very strong flavor, but I love it. And this is going to be the coating for the outside of the pork. I got to take a quick break. When I come back, We're going to get our pork butterflied, get it stuffed, and get it in the oven, and I'll be right back with you in just a minute. Hey, and welcome back. Now, to our fennel seeds, I'm going to add about, I don't know, 2 to 3 tablespoons of just lemon pepper seasoning that you buy in the grocery store, just lemon pepper. Kind of blend that up. That's going to be the coating, so let's just set that aside. Now, I have got pork tenderloin comes 2 to a package. So you buy 1 package and you've got 2 thin cut, thinner pork tenderloins, or you can use 1 pork loin. The process is going to be the same. We're going to butterfly these, so watch real carefully. Thin, sharp knife, start on one end and work your way down. Now you are not cutting all the way through the meat. Do you see what I'm doing? You're cutting almost to the edge of the other. Go shorter than you think, because you can always do what I'm going to do right here. Open it up like this, like a book, and see if you need to add any more. You don't want to cut through it. You're just opening it up. You see how we've done that right there? And I've already done this one, but let me show you what we're going to do here. Now, this is a thicker cut of meat in places, so we want to even it out. Take a piece of wax paper, a piece of plastic wrap, just something. Move the one kind of out of the way here. And if you'll notice, I put another meat board on top of my cutting board. Meat mallet, something heavy. You can use a rolling pin, you can use a bottle, whatever you want. But if you've got one of these, it's a great little gadget to have. You just want to kind of even this out a little bit. I know this looks complicated, but trust me, it is not. When you're pounding meat, start from the center and work your way out. Now look, can you see this? You ready? You see how much more even that is? That's all we want to do. No big magic science here. Just kind of even it out. Let's do the other one. The reason I put this over it is to keep from tearing the meat, and it makes it a little easier. Okay, that's it. That's all you got to do. So let's put this to one of these to the side here. Take your stuffing mixture, get a little spoon, and right down the center of your stuffing, or of your pork, put your stuffing. Because I'm going to cook this immediately, it's okay that that stuffing is warm. If you are not going to cook it immediately, do not put hot stuffing on that raw meat. But because I am, it's okay. And then just fold your pork back over. If you're using the pork loin, the bigger pork loin, then you might have to put, a little more stuffing in there. This is just kitchen twine. You could also use toothpicks. And I'm just simply going to tie this up. You could take each side like this and just skewer through there with a toothpick if you wanted to. Either way is perfectly fine. However, whatever works for you. You're going to need about 3 little ties or 3 or 4 toothpicks. Just something to keep it together. 3 ought to do it for this. Take some kitchen shears and cut off the excess string. And that's it. I know it looks complicated. It could not be easier. You can do this. Take about just a little teaspoon or so of your olive oil. Rub on the outside of your pork. And then take your mixture and rub it. Take about half of the mixture per piece of pork. And then just rub it on the outside of your pork tenderloin. Get yourself just a I'm just using a baking sheet. I want the high sides because this is such a lean cut of meat. If I use a regular baking dish, it could burn. So I'm using just a regular glass dish that I have lined just for ease of cleanup. And that's it. That goes in a 475-degree oven for about 25 minutes is all it takes for that to cook. All right, now our pork tenderloins are in the oven roasting, and we're going to get started on our side dish. I told you this could not be easier. And even those of you out there who think you don't like Brussels sprouts, you are wrong. They are delicious. I have in this, I'm just using a glass Pyrex baking dish that I've lined, and I only lined it for ease of cleanup. You do not have to line it if you don't want to. I just don't like scrubbing pots and pans. And I love this non-stick foil, by the way. This is aluminum foil, that's the non-stick kind. I have in here just one bag of frozen baby Brussels sprouts. All it is, right there in the pan. To this, I'm gonna add some salt, a little bit of salt, about a teaspoon or so, and some fresh ground pepper, however much you like. I like a lot, but whatever you like. And some butter. I'm an advocate for real butter. If you like margarine, it's okay to use margarine in this recipe. I just really like the flavor of butter. I like it better. About 2 teaspoons or so. What I'm doing is just cutting off a piece, and I'm just dotting it over the Brussels sprouts. Or 2 tablespoons, excuse me. And that just creates like this little sauce that helps the Brussels sprouts to braise. And that's it. Put it in the oven alongside your roasting pork. And you know what? Your side dish is cooking alongside your main dish, and it couldn't be easier. And look at your stove. There's nothing on it. So cleanup is easy. Hands off time. You know, you can be doing something else with your family on this Christmas day if this is what you want to serve for Christmas dinner. Don't cover it, don't anything. Put it in the oven, 425 degrees for about 20 minutes or so, and it'll be done. And it could not be any easier for you to use or for you to serve your family. Great Christmas dinner. Now, let's talk about a cheese ball, because we like cheese balls. I'm gonna take a quick break, gather up a few ingredients, and when I come back, we're gonna make one of the most delicious cheese balls that you've ever tasted, and it couldn't be any easier. I'll be right back with you in just a minute.
There's a place where a total stranger will give their blood to save your life. A place where someone you never knew will save your child from drowning. Where someone will give you food and shelter after a flood. That place is called America, where we look out for each other. When you help the American Red Cross, you help America.
Remember when we vowed the vows and walked the walk and gave our hearts, made the start, and it was hard. We lived and learned life through curves. There was joy, there was hurt. Remember when? Remember when we said when we turned gray, when the children grow up and move away, we won't be sad, we'll be glad for all the life we've had, and we'll remember when. Remember when.
Sure. I've got my share of problems. Who doesn't?
Stop the world, I want to get off.
The pressures are enormous. Temptation is everywhere.
I have found a retreat.
I'd find real answers in this. This is a whole lot more than those Sunday school stories about David and a slingshot.
It's a daily dose of God's Word.
Read the Bible.
Read the Bible.
Find the answers for yourself. Read the Bible. This message brought to you by the New King James Version of the Bible and this television station.
Hey, and welcome back. Now, we are going to get our cheese ball ready to go. Our Brussels sprouts are roasting. Our pork tenderloin is roasting. Let's make our cheese ball. In this bowl, I have 2 blocks of 8 ounces each of just cream cheese that is softened. It has been, brought to room temperature so that you can do this with it, because you need to be able to stir in your ingredients. So make sure that your cream cheese is at room temperature. Let it sit out for a couple or 3 hours. It'll be fine. We're gonna add a little bit of green pepper, just about 1/4 maybe of a green pepper. Let me get a little paring knife here so I can get out this little membrane. I love the flavor of green pepper. If you don't, you could use a red pepper. You could use a combination of green and red, and how festive is that for Christmas? Because that's what we're doing. We're making Christmas things. You want to mince this kind of fine, because you're eating this raw, and green pepper can be a little bit strong in its flavor, but I like it. So we want to get about 1/4 of a green pepper. You want, I don't know, 1/4 of a cup or so. You can use red pepper, you could use yellow pepper, you could use roasted peppers if you wanted to. But I kind of like the sharpness of the green pepper, but you use whatever kind of pepper you like. Mince it kind of fine. You can use your little chopper if you want to, the little chopper that I'm so fond of now, that little thing that you pound at the top. I like that for this recipe too. If you want to use that, that's fine. But sometimes I find cooking therapeutic. I really like getting in and mincing my food and using my knives, and I use cooking as a way to relax. Even in the most stressful days, if I can get home and cook, it does something to me. I wish that everybody could be that way, because I do get a lot of comments from people if they don't know how to cook and all of this stuff, and you can learn. I purposefully do recipes on this program that anybody can cook. Even the most novice of a cook can do most of everything that I cook on the program. And we've got our 1/4 of a green pepper. I have 1 small can of just crushed pineapple, the crushed kind, that I have drained completely and thoroughly over a sieve and pressed out all the liquid. Just add that in and then just stir all this together. And that's it for the ingredients of this particular kind of cheese ball. There are so many different, we could do a whole program on nothing but cheese ball types, different things, cheddar cheese, pork cheese, brie, whatever, you name it, we can make a cheese ball out of it. But cream cheese is one of my favorites for a cheese ball. And that's it, folks, right there. Now, I'm going to use a piece of wax paper right here. Just a little simple piece just to help form it. I'm going to put it in the middle of the wax paper. You could use plastic wrap if you wanted to, but I'm out of it today, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to use this. Get all your delicious little ingredients out. Every little bit of it. If you need to make 2, double this recipe. Easy to do. Just use your wax paper. Keeps your hands clean. Form it into a ball. Form it into a log. Form it into whatever kind of shape you want. If you've got one of those little forms, for Thanksgiving I bought one of those little turkey forms that you can, do different things in. You could, by all means, put this in one of your little forms, a Christmas tree or whatever you want, but we're just going to do the traditional little ball today. Take your ball, I'm just using a pretty little pedestal today. Let me get my crackers out of the way here. And I'm just going to put it on a little pedestal. I've got some pecans, just chopped up pecans, that I'm going to sprinkle over and kind of press in my cheese ball. Again, your wax paper really helps with this because it can be a little bit sticky. So pour them over there and then use your wax paper to coat the outside of your little cheese ball. Oh, I've got a spot over here that needs some nuts. I am a huge, huge nut eater. I love nuts of any kind. My sweet little friend Barb from Hurley, Virginia, one of my faithful little partners here, sent me a wonderful gift, and thank you, Barb, for that. And she sent me this collection of nuts, of pecans and walnuts, and oh my goodness, am I snacking on those every day. I love them. Just take your excess pecans and put around your ball. Now that needs to go in the refrigerator for about an hour. Just surround it with crackers and serve your family. All right, our meal is done, and I want you to see this. Look at this beautiful pork tenderloin. Look at that. See how you see the stuffing that we made inside the pork, and look at that. It's beautiful. I took it out of the oven when it was done, and I let it set for about 10 minutes. Let me get my plate. Anytime before you carve meat, you need to let it set for like 10, 15, 20 minutes to